How would you like to make an even more positive impact on the people you're mentoring? Few things are as rewarding as being able to make a big difference in someone's life, helping them break through, grow, and realize their dreams and potential. Great mentoring can make all the difference in bringing dreams and goals to life. This is the heartbeat behind this video series, and it's why I'm so passionate, because all too often the reality with mentoring is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Not all mentoring is actually helpful, and knowing the difference between good and bad mentoring can be crucial for either setting yourself up for success or experiencing really painful failure and abandoning your dreams and goals entirely. This video is part 3 in my Be a Better Mentor series. In the last video, I shared the most effective questions that any leader, coach, or trainer could ask that will make their mentoring even more effective. In the first video, I shared the common pitfalls and mistakes that a lot of mentoring falls into that can sabotage and make it so much harder for those we're mentoring to actually get results. I'm doing this series because I want more and more people reaching their goals and bringing their dreams to life, and I know that great mentoring can be an invaluable support in doing that. Also, for many of the people that I've worked with over the years, there's this big desire to help other people within them. So it feels really important to help more people who have really good intentions to gain some awareness and hopefully some skills that are needed to be successful. I'm also doing this series so that if you're seeking mentoring to help you reach a goal or bring a dream to life, that you can be aware of what's actually helpful or not helpful within mentoring, ideally so that you don't get stuck if you receive bad mentoring. For the purposes of this video series, we're defining bad mentoring as mentoring that makes it harder for you to reach your goal or whatever you've hired or asked that mentor to help you with. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the key mindsets and skills that can really help set up your mentoring for success. There are 3 key mindsets that can be really helpful within mentoring. The first is bringing an abundance mindset. As I've mentioned, it's not always easy to tell what will work with one person you're mentoring versus another. Yes, there will be similarities, but each person you mentor is a unique individual with unique circumstances. It's pretty difficult to help someone when you believe more in their limitations than what might be possible for them. I believe that if someone has a certain goal or dream in their heart, it's because that goal or dream is meant for them in some way, even if it's just that the pursuit of that goal or dream is meant for them in some way. Who am I to discourage them from showing up for themselves like that? I'm not God, and I don't have a crystal ball that I can see the future with. So instead, it's best to believe your mentees with their goals and dreams. Then you as the mentor can bring your experience and wisdom to help them and guide them as best as you can, even if you're not entirely sure of exactly how that dream or goal is going to happen for them. You don't need to fully see the end from the beginning when you're mentoring. It's best to show up in good faith that if everyone continues to do their best, it will somehow work out, or something even better will work out instead. This abundance mindset can help set you both up to watch for opportunities that may have been missed otherwise. It also helps you help your mentee to be prepared whenever opportunity comes knocking. Over the years, I've seen far too many serendipity moments and surprise opportunities show up that we could have never guessed would have come. It really keeps me humble and reminds me to show up to do my part and trust that the rest often takes care of itself. One of my favorite quotes that illustrates this point and is such a good reminder is by William Hutchison. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. Another key mindset is to show up to serve those that you're working with. This is a power stance that puts your focus fully on the person you're trying to help. In fact, this mindset can also help you let go of any nerves or insecurities you might have around mentoring. Lots of times when those nerves and insecurities show up, it's because your focus is on yourself rather than on the person that you're trying to help. Showing up to serve removes any urge or impulse you might have to try to impress or prove your worth to the person that you're mentoring. Instead, you're staying focused only on that which is most helpful to them. It also helps you put the right framing around your own past experience as not being the end-all, be-all, only way of getting results, which can set you up for failure, but instead as helpful experience that helped you gain wisdom to better guide someone. The last key mindset shift is to be growth-minded. This means that the underlying understanding in the mentoring relationship is that both parties, the mentor and the mentee, both value growth. You as the mentor are wanting to continue to grow as a mentor and expand your skill set and experience, while the mentee feels encouragement and psychological safety to go through their own messy growth path. If you like the growth mindset versus fixed mindset concept, those insights would be really valuable here also. For example, a fixed mindset is really tricky to mentor with and to receive mentoring. It can look like having thoughts like, I'm either good at something or I'm not, or feedback and criticism are personal, whereas a growth mindset would see challenges help us grow and feedback is helpful and constructive. There are also some key strategies that can help you go from good to great as a mentor. One of the most important is that of creating a safe space within the mentoring. This means that in working with you, the mentee feels a sense of psychological safety, trust, and non-judgment. This can be a little harder to create in a professional environment where the mentee genuinely could lose their job either due to their performance or factors outside of either of your control. However, it's important in professional work environments to also do our best to create as much psychological safety as we possibly can in ways that are appropriate and genuinely helpful. I've found that one of the ways to do this is not going as deep into someone's personal life when you're working on mentoring them in a professional environment. I try not to get into or dig deeper into their life outside of work. I also try to give my mentee a lot of clarity about the boundaries and expectations within their mentoring relationship with me. This would be a little different if someone hired me privately. In those scenarios, I typically show up giving the mentoring relationship more freedom. Regardless of the scenario, though, always remember that clarity is kind. Keeping things too loose with very little clarity, often in an attempt to give the mentee lots of freedom, can frequently not be that helpful to them. A big part of psychological safety is knowing where the boundaries are rather than being surprised by them. Another key aspect of creating psychological safety is to separate a person's worth from their behavior and results. No matter what happens, the person can never actually be a failure. Things may not work out how they intended, and things they're trying might even fail, but the mentee's worth and value never change. Anytime we're trying something new or wanting to change in a certain way, it's a leap of faith. There are no guarantees that we'll get the results we're going for. This reality naturally creates vulnerability. In this way, it's usually pretty safe to assume that whatever we're mentoring someone on usually means way more to them than it might mean to us, and more than they let us see that it means to them. They may want that job promotion desperately. They may have dreamed their whole life of becoming an artist. Whatever it is that we're mentoring them on, just recognize that you're walking on sacred ground when you're showing up to help someone on their journey. Tread carefully and wisely. I'm sad about how many goals and dreams have been crushed by someone who may have meant well, but who had influence in that person's life and showed up as a bad mentor in some way or another, crushing that dream or goal. These are sensitive spaces, and it's really important to remember this. Treat the person always like their dream or goal matters, but most importantly, that they as a person matter. Doing so will naturally help you show up as a stronger and more impactful mentor. Another strategy that's crucial is setting up clear boundaries around your mentoring. New mentors, coaches, and trainers typically either have too loose or too rigid of boundaries. Too loose might look like going way over time during each of your scheduled mentoring sessions. Too rigid of boundaries might be expecting our mentee to do everything we're asking with no room for real life and surprises to come up and get in the way. You also may want to watch what kind of access you give your mentee to you outside of mentoring sessions. For example, with those that I'm mentoring, I give them access to me via email while clearly telling them that I may not respond to their emails until 24 to 36 hours after, and that I definitely don't respond to emails on the weekends. I also never give my mentees my personal cell phone number. It's difficult to show up as a great mentor when you're at the mentee's every beck and call and whim. Even if it might seem helpful in the moment, it really isn't helpful to your mentee in the long run. Too much access to you can also create too much dependence on you, rather than your mentee being able to demonstrate to themselves that they can take action on their own. It also helps you as the mentor to experience better life balance, which will help you show up stronger in your mentoring sessions. When you're drained and overwhelmed and exhausted, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to show up as a really impactful mentor. In some types of mentoring, these boundaries may not be possible, but it's important to clarify what boundaries do make sense and set up the mentoring and the mentee for optimal success. I also like clarifying the roles within mentoring that we're both playing. For example, sometimes I've had a friend ask me to mentor them. Right away at the beginning of the mentoring relationship, or even sometimes in the beginning of every mentoring session, I'll say something like, I know we're really good friends, but during this mentoring session, I'm going to show up as your mentor. When I show up as your mentor, I'm better able to help you in the ways that you want me to help you. This means that I'm going to speak to you as a mentor and less as a friend. This will help me to bring all the wisdom and experience I've gained into this conversation to better serve you. For you to get the most out of our time together, I also recommend that you show up fully as the mentee and be sure you're asking lots of questions, pushing back when needed, and that you're clear about what you're hoping to get out of our time together so we can be sure you're set up for success. Clarifying roles within mentoring can also be extremely helpful within professional work environments. I've had times when I've needed to clarify that I'm not showing up as their boss during that mentoring session, but instead showing up as their mentor. I then clarify how I don't want them showing up as my employee during that mentoring session, which would normally have them leaning towards wanting to please me and just agree with everything that I'm saying. But instead, I want them to feel free to ask questions, push back when needed, and communicate what they need in order for our time to be most helpful. Another key strategy is to lead by example. As we've all probably experienced from time to time, the do as I say but not as I do model doesn't work. I like to think of a great mentor as being someone who actively is practicing what they're preaching, rather than being the expert on the subject. For example, if you go to a yoga class, you don't listen to that yoga teacher because they're the expert on yoga. Instead, we trust them, yes, because of their training, but also because they're actively in the practice of doing and teaching yoga. I also agree with the sentiment and research found around the more someone knows about something, the less they will claim they are an expert in it. The reason being that the more we know about something, the more we see there still is to learn about it. This humility is powerful and it can be invaluable in a mentoring relationship. Over the years, I've seen too many people with really good intentions who just want to help people get stuck in a game of smoke and mirrors where they feel like they have to show up as the expert all the time. It makes them hide anything that might be perceived as weakness and instead show up all the time as if they have everything figured out. It's this funny thing where even if you're coaching people in their careers, you feel like you also have to be excellent in relationships and in your health as well to be taken seriously. You're constantly feeling the need to prove that your life is amazing and that's what makes you an expert. But it's pretty difficult for any human to show up balancing everything in their life perfectly all the time. We all always have parts of our lives that are going better than others. But please, when you're mentoring, be clear that you're a human too, just like your mentee. And as such, you don't have everything figured out. You do know a lot about the subject that they're coming to you for, but you aren't perfect. This will relieve a lot of pressure off your shoulders, and it will also help your mentee to not feel like they have to show up perfectly in order to get the results that they desire. This will also help you bring honesty and vulnerability as needed when you make a mistake, rather than feeling like you need to hide or deny that a mistake was ever made. Ultimately, we all want our mentors to be real with us. A fake facade of an example helps no one. Another important strategy in mentoring is to provide accountability. When your mentee commits to doing something, it's your job as the mentor to hold them accountable to it. Accountability is powerful and insanely valuable. I think one of the big surprises when I started working with a lot of really wealthy entrepreneurs is how much money they were willing to pay someone just to keep them accountable to taking the action that they knew they needed to take towards their goal. Quite often, the hardest part of reaching our goals and our dreams is consistent action and doing what we said we would do. A mentor can be an invaluable resource to help us keep showing up for ourselves. Great mentoring brings high accountability tempered with compassion. You can understand and empathize when setbacks occur, while also holding your mentee accountable in a way that feels good to both of you. Often we need to find the balance point between how much grace is actually helpful to our mentee versus offering too much grace and letting our mentee's excuses and life circumstances continue to sabotage their efforts and intentions. Ultimately, I believe we all can be great mentors to each other in various capacities. When we keep these principles in mind, it sets our mentees up for success to reach their goals and realize their potential. Remember, a great mentor can make all the difference in helping someone to reach their goal or not. It's like that sentiment around the thought of, I am where I am today because I had people who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let them down. In the next and final video in this series, we'll talk through what it looks like to leave a legacy with your mentoring and make even more of a positive impact. See you there.